Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Nara Saraswati Santato Jayamudire. Danvatam Swakata Krishna Punyesha Kirtana. Ridentosti Abhadrani Vidunoti Sahasratam. Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Neshtike. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Chapter 4, Chapter 21, verse 24. Ya udhare karam raja praja dharme asikaya prajanam samalam bhukte bhagam cha swam jahati sa. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any king who does not teach his citizens about their respective duties in terms of varna and ashrama, but who simply exacts tolls and taxes from them, is liable to suffer for the impious activities which have been performed by the citizens. In addition to such degradation, the king also loses his own virtue. Purport: a king, governor, or president should not take the opportunity to occupy his post without also discharging his duty. He must teach the people within the state how to observe the divisions of varna and ashrama. If a king neglects to give such instructions and is simply satisfied with levying taxes, then those who share in the collection, namely all the government servants at the head of the state, are liable to share in the impious activities of the general masses. The laws of nature are very subtle. For example, if one eats in a place which is very sinful, he shares in the resultant reaction of the sinful activities performed there. It is a Vedic system, therefore, for a householder to call Brahmanas and Vaishnavas to eat at ceremonial performances in his house, because the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas can immunize him from his sinful activities. But it is not the duty of rigid Brahmanas and Vaishnavas to accept invitations everywhere. There is, of course, no objection to taking part in feasts in which prasada is distributed. There are many subtle laws which are practically unknown to people in general, but the Krishna consciousness movement is very scientifically distributing all this Vedic knowledge for the benefit of the people of the world. Text 25. Praja Bhartapindartham Swartham Evanasuyava Kuruta Dokshajadiya Starhimeno Grahakrita. Translation. Prithu Maharaj continued, therefore, my dear citizens, for the welfare of your king after his death, you should execute your duties properly in terms of your positions of Varna and Ashrama, and should always think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within your hearts. By doing so, you will protect your own interests and you will bestow mercy upon your king for his welfare after death. Purport: the word Adokshaja Diya, meaning Krishna consciousness, are very important in this verse. The king and citizen should both be Krishna conscious, otherwise, both of them will be doomed to lower species of life after death. A responsible government must teach Krishna consciousness very rigorously for the benefit of all. Without Krishna consciousness, neither the state nor the citizens of the state can be responsible. Prithu Maharaj, therefore, specifically requested the citizens to act in Krishna consciousness, and he was also very anxious to teach them how to become Krishna conscious. A summary of Krishna consciousness is given in Bhagavad Gita 9.27. Yat karoshi yad ajnasi yad jujosi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you give in charity, and whatever penances you undergo should be done in Krishna consciousness or for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If all the people of the state, including the government servants, are taught the techniques of spiritual life, then although everyone is liable to be punished in different ways by the stringent laws of material nature, they will not be implicated. Text 26. Yuyam tad anumodhadvam pitradevarsayamal artusatur anunatus tulyam yat preteya tatphalam. Translation. I request all the pure-hearted demigods, forefathers, and saintly persons to support my proposal, for after death, the result of an action is equally shared by its doer, its director, and its supporter. Purport. The government of Prithu Maharaj was perfect because it was administered exactly according to the orders of the Vedic injunctions. Prithu Maharaj has already explained that the chief duty of the government is to see that everyone executes his respective duty and is elevated to the platform of Krishna consciousness. The government should be conducted that automatically one is elevated to Krishna consciousness. King Prithu therefore wanted his citizens to cooperate fully with him, for if they assented, they would enjoy the same profit as he after death. If Prithu Maharaj, as a perfect king, were elevated to the heavenly planets, the citizens who cooperated by approving of his method would also be elevated with him. Since the Krishna consciousness movement going on at the present moment is genuine, perfect, and authorized, and is following in the footsteps of Prithu Maharaj, anyone who cooperates with this movement or accepts its principle will get the same result as the workers who are actively propagating Krishna consciousness. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurune Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatari Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna. Good morning, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All praise to Srila Prabhupada. I humbly bow down to all the assembled devotees today. Please bless me that I can speak these verses for my own purification and forgive me for any of my shortcomings. So these few verses here are in the section of where Prithu Maharaj is giving instructions to his citizens. So this specific section up until verse 26 is focusing on the varnashram dharma, right? The first, Prithu Maharaj is just starting basically like giving the instructions to the citizens about following varnashram. And I think everybody on this call is very much familiar with all of the varnashram, So basically, when we talk about varnashram, right, it is speaking about the four varnas, which is, the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. That is the four divisions. And then when we talk about the ashramas, that is really the path to the spiritual evolution, which is the brahmacharya, which is the student life focusing on learning, discipline, celibacy. Grihastha, which is the householder life focusing on marriage, family, responsibility to society. Vanaprastha is like the retired life, which is the gradual withdrawal from material duties. And then the sannyasa, which is the renounced order of life, where there is full dedication to spiritual pursuits. So that's where we talk about the varnashram. Now, varnashram is also, whenever Prabhupada explained it, it was like more like the Daivi varnashram, right? Where all these varnas and ashramas are focused on spiritual evolution, where it ultimately takes us to spirituality, to connecting with Krishna, right? But however, in the material sense, how the varnashram was taken was that really it was based on the guna and karma and not by janma, right? like ideally it is like that, but the materialistic point was really focused on the Janma, whereas even today, right? Who those people who are born in a Brahmin family are considered Brahmanas, or Shudra is considered Shudra, like that. But the ideal Devi Varnashram is based on guna and karma. So a person's role is determined by their qualities, that is guna, and work karma, but not by the family that they are born in. And in Bhagavad Gita 4.13, Krishna says, right, Chaturvarna Maya Shrishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasa. The four division of human society were created by him, actually by Krishna, according to the modes of nature and work. So here Puttu Maharaj is really very clearly saying the details about the importance of following Varnashram Dharma. And in verse 24, he was clearly saying what is going to happen to a king who does not follow this Varnashram Dharma and who is not guiding the citizens. So he's basically giving the do and the don't. So there he says that if somebody does not do that and is only going to levy taxes on the citizens, that is really sinful. So when the king does everything properly, he gets a percentage of the piety of the citizens. Okay, that's how it works if he does it. But if he doesn't follow this instruction, like if he doesn't encourage his citizens to follow the Devi Varnashram, or even take them to the higher level of spirituality, then he partakes in in the sinful reactions of the citizens. So that's what happens, the do's and the don'ts. So that's why it is said that it is very important that a king does guide his citizens to the correct path, right? And then here, Srila Prabhupada in verse 24 beautifully he connects it to Krishna consciousness movement. And he says that there are a lot of subtle laws, like we don't understand all of that. But then, because of Krishna consciousness, an opportunity is given for everybody to elevate before the opportunity for spiritual evolution. And so that is the focus in the verse 24. Then moving on to verse 25, here basically Prithu Maharaj is again focusing on that by explaining about how welfare, after they follow that, what would happen is the king will benefit if they all follow what he's saying right now, right? That follow the Devi Varnashram and connect with the Supreme Lord. Then after death, Prithu Maharaj will also benefit. That's what he's saying. And here, the technique that Prithu Maharaj is using is like love, right? Like a mother. Sometimes if mother wants a child to eat something, right? They'll say, see, look, how much do you love me? Can you finish your plate? Can you eat all these vegetables? You love mommy so much, right? Can you just eat all of this? So we use these techniques, right? Even with children. It's like the emotional blackmail. But why are we doing that? It's really for their own benefit, because eating vegetables is good for them. It's not like I'm going to use that for my benefit. So something like that here, Puthu Maharaj is using that technique, and he's saying that if you did this, right, what would happen is that it will protect your own interest, and you will bestow mercy upon your king for his welfare after death. So like if the praja, if the subjects are really, they have a high amount of respect, high amount of love for the king, they will naturally do that. And we also see this in our movement also, right? Like one thing I've always heard devotees say is that when we receive initiation, Guru Maharaj is taking all our previous karmic reactions. And after that, our life is basically, surrendered to Guru Maharaj and Krishna. So then we have to be very careful now once you're initiated, because now if I do any follow the of this, Guru Maharaj is going to get the reaction, right? We have heard that. So similar to like that here, he's saying that if the subjects are not following all of this, it will impact the life, the like it will be a sinful reaction for the king after his death. So that's kind of the thing what he's speaking here. And also the reference is given yat karoshi yat yajnasi, the Bhagavad Gita 9.27 verse, which is pretty much the verse which guides for Varnashram Dharma, that people may not be at that higher level to understand true bhakti, pure bhakti, and all of it. But then, at least at the foundation level, this is easy to understand. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you give away in charity, all of it, right? Just think of it as a service to me. So that's an easy, practical way to connect. So anyway, so that's like the Varnashram Dharma practical application that Prithu Maharaj is giving it right there. And in verse 26, now Prithu Maharaj is wrapping it all up with the Varnashram Dharma, following that. And then he's saying now, okay, now requesting everybody to join hands in this proposal. And he's saying that if this happens, everybody is going to get the benefit now, right? So that's when Srila Prabhupada is also explaining that Krishna consciousness movement is also followed in the lineage, followed in the directions of Prithu Maharaj, because this is exactly the same instructions, right? That's been given for us in Krishna consciousness movement also. So he's saying finally that everybody that is a supporter will also get the same benefit. That's really what it comes down to. And here Prabhupada is also explaining that those who support our movement will get the same benefit as the people who are propagating the Krishna consciousness. So very beautifully, Prithu Maharaj is explaining all of this. And then in the next section, we will see that Prithu Maharaj doesn't end here with Varnashram Dharma, but then he is going to take the subjects further into the real bhakti, right? And those are the verses that's going to be coming here very soon. And I think I just a little bit of self-reflection is that I just love how Srila Prabhupada, whenever he like gets this opportunity, right, how all of these verses he's able to really connect it with the practical tips on Krishna consciousness movement, ISKCON movement, and we can just see that everything that we do in our movement, everything, the directions that has been given, is not just, like Prabhupada just kind of, what is that? Like he manufactured any of these things, but all of these are dependent upon the Shastra. Everything is coming upon based upon these instructions that have been given by all of these saintly personalities in the scriptures and also by our acharyas. So I just feel we are all very fortunate that just following the steps that has been given to us, we are being elevated to that ultimate goal of pure bhakti. With that, I would like to end. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Vancha kalpatarubhesha kripa